Alright, here are some guiltygearstrive, playing A.B.A. I can't lie to you, you know, even though it may not look like I've been playing a lot of this game, I've been playing this game every single day since A.B.A. came out. She's made me interested in the game again. And, you know, one of these things I talk about on this channel is DLC characters. They really keep me going in a game. They really keep me motivated to keep playing the game. And, you know, Street Fighter 6 has been lacking in DLC. Obviously, Akuma is amazing, but he's not out, right? So, Ed, Rashid, and Aki, they aren't like, yeah, woo, you know? Tekken's first character is Eddie. I never liked Eddie. I always hated Eddie. And not even because, you know, he's annoying to play against. I mean, like, playing as Eddie always felt incredibly awkward. Mortal Kombat's DLC is not great either. There are 3 characters in. Omni-Man and Peacemaker are super sick, but Quan Chi was one of the worst DLC characters I've ever played in a fighting game. So, DLC is kind of lacking nowadays, and funny enough, Guiltygearstrive is on point with their characters. On point. But the reason that I stopped playing Guiltygearstrive is because they weren't on point with their DLC characters. I hated a lot of the characters they added to this game. I hated Bridget, I hated Bedman, I hated Asuka. He is a zoner. I hate zoners. Even though he's like he's a pretty interesting character. It's just that all of that super cool, interesting stuff comes down to him being a zoner. So, and I just don't have fun playing zoners ever. I hated Bedman, hated Bridget, hated him. Elfel is super lame, although this season is great. The Guiltygearstrive DLC characters were just always like 75% a miss for me. There were a few good ones. I'm not gonna lie to you. There were a few good ones. Do not get me wrong, but a lot of the characters were a miss for me. And then each time a miss came out, it just made me want to play the game less and less and less. Until Bedman came out, and when Bedman came out, I was kind of just like, I'm done, bro. I'm done. Like, I've had enough of this game. But they brought back Johnny. And Johnny is amazing, but he's kind of bad in this game, so that's kind of like made me like, that's like making Akuma bad, you know? Like if Akuma comes out and he's bad, that's insane. That's like making Akuma bad in the game. Johnny is just Himothy. So, and he wasn't Himothy in this game. He takes a lot of work. And then Dizzy got leaked. So A.B.A. got leaked to be Dizzy. I'm so glad that it turned out to be A.B.A. instead. Because believe me, if we got Elfel and Dizzy back to back, I would have quit playing this game forever. You would never have seen another Guiltygearstrive video on this channel. Because again, like I said, Guiltygearstrive DLC has kind of been lacking for me all these years. And then you do Elfel and Dizzy back to back, I'm done. I always hated Elfel and I always hated Dizzy. I always thought Dizzy had a super lame playstyle. I never liked it. But then we went with A.B.A. And I'm like, oh, that's insane. That's amazing. And then they announced Slayer. Like, unironically, this season of Guiltygearstrive is better than every other fighting game's season right now. And you know what? Tekken 8 is in their first season of content. Street Fighter's in their first season of content. Mortal Kombat's in their first season of content. You would think that the very first season of a game is the most jam-packed season of a fighting game, right? Because that's just how it goes. Normally, season 1 is like the season. Funny enough, Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8 have... Street Fighter 6 has the same amount of content in Season 1 that Guiltygearstrive does in Season 3. They both have 4 characters and 2 stages, right? I believe Slayer is getting a stage, correct me if I'm wrong. But either way, it is Street Fighter 6's first season of content, and they're only getting 4 characters and 2 stages. Meanwhile, Tekken 8 is having their first season of content, and they're only getting 4 characters and 0 stages. Like, how is guiltygearstrive outdoing them? These games are so much higher budget than guiltygearstrive, and yet guiltygearstrive is still delivering more content. How is this possible? How is this possible? And, in my opinion, the content they're delivering completely destroys Street Fighter and Tekken. We don't know Tekken's DLC character, but we don't know like their roster. But Eddie is not a great start. I'm sorry, I always hated Eddie. Not only is he annoying to play against, but he's super awkward to play as. I never liked the way he felt. And then we have Rashid and Aki, super weirdo characters. Ed is okay, I guess, and then Akuma is obviously goatified. But meanwhile, guiltygearstrive only has 1 miss this season, which is Elfelt. Slayer's amazing, A.B.A.'s amazing, Johnny's amazing. Even if they suck gameplay-wise, they are just like fan favorite, goated characters to add to the game. And meanwhile, Street Fighter 6 is not really adding fan favorite characters. I wouldn't call Aki, Rashid, and Ed fan favorite characters. And I wouldn't call, I mean, Eddie is a fan favorite character, but I wouldn't call that like, because you gotta understand, even though the guest characters in Tekken 8 were annoying, or Tekken 7, my bad, they literally made that game, and we're starting off Tekken 8 with no DLC, or no guest characters. You know, Tekken 8 already has a pretty good roster, so it just felt weird to not include a guest character. It's just seeing how much attention guest characters brought Tekken 7. It's just a weird thing. And then they give us Eddie, and I know Eddie is a fan favorite, but just not for me. He's not for me. But I feel like Slayer, A.B.A., and Johnny, maybe even Elfelt, all appeal to somebody. They all appeal to somebody. I know this is a bit of a rant right here, but it just blows my mind how guiltygearstrive is in its 3rd season of content. It's getting as much, if not more, content than these AAA millions of dollar budget games. It has no microtransactions. I can't believe this. You know, Tekken 8 just added some super scummy microtransactions back to back. Street Fighter 6 has some a lot of microtransactions, but to be fair, they are for your created characters, so they're kind of useless. But both those games have very small season passes, not a lot of content. And this game has the same amount of content as them, and actually more content than Tekken 8 in terms of season pass. And it's literally on its 3rd season. Like, this game is outdoing those games content-wise. It's blowing my mind. It really is, because like I said, I've said it before, I'll always say it. DLC characters give me a reason to keep playing the game. They help my channel, right? They help me show off new stuff on the channel. But me as a player, I like when stuff is changed. I like new stuff. Street Fighter 6 has had 3 characters and 0 balance patches in almost a year, you know? So, Tekken 8 is going through a lot of changes, but they're not really good changes. They added a microtransaction shop, and now tomorrow they're adding a battle pass. It's like, yikes, dude, yikes. I don't really want to show that stuff off on my channel. I want to show off cool, you know, additions, cool balance patches, you know, stuff like that. I don't really want to show off microtransactions on my channel. I really don't. So it's insane that guiltygearstrive is kind of a low budget game compared to these other fighting games, and they are on their 3rd year, and their 3rd year is on the same pace as these multi-million-dollar fighting games. And I would argue that guiltygearstrive has cared about their fans more than any other fighting game, because guiltygearstrive has gotten crossplay added as a free update, and 3 years in, it hasn't gotten a single microtransaction. So, I mean, that guiltygearstrive is like morally a better game than Tekken 8, which is funny. And obviously, you know, Tekken 8 has an amazing story mode, big roster. Tekken 8 is one of the best fighting games I've ever played. But like, Guilty Gear Strive is a game that kind of, they could use the money. Arc System Works is a small company. They could use adding microtransactions into the game. And they haven't. There's 0 microtransactions in this game, and literally Guilty Gear Strive had the biggest season passes in recent memory for a fighting game. Now all these season passes are really small, but season 1 was big. It had like 6 characters and like 2 stages. They really cared about this game. And you know, meanwhile we are entering the second month of Tekken, and all they've added was 1 new character, a $40 season pass that only has 4 characters in it. They added a Tekken microtransaction shop, and now they're adding a battle pass. So again, you know, this video kind of turned into a bit of a rant video, but I really want it to be an appreciation video for Guilty Gear Strive, because they did a lot of stuff I don't care for in terms of characters, but they never really, I don't know, they've always stuck to their game plan, and they never really like did anything scummy. It is like, of course Guilty Gear Strive was a $60 game with a 4-hour story mode that you couldn't play and only had what, 16 characters. It was a bare bones game, but they stuck to their game plan of just adding as much content as possible, and all of it is a super fair price, especially compared to these games that are multi-million dollar budget games selling way more copies than Guilty Gear Strive, and they have insane amount of microtransactions. Mortal Kombat 1 and Tekken 8 especially. And Guilty Gear Strive never sold out from microtransactions. And honestly, it seems to be acceptable to have microtransactions in this new generation of fighting games. But they just ain't doing that in Guilty Gear. They're just really sticking to their guns. And I really gotta, I can't lie, if you're a Guilty Gear fan, you're kind of eating good. Consistently 3 years of content so far. Well, they're on year 3, but the game hasn't been out for 3 years yet. But 3 seasons of content so far. Nothing that is super scummy, nothing that makes you feel like ripped off. And they're just continuing with it. They're just going forward. You know, I absolutely love Capcom games. I love Tekken. You know, I'm even in the Capcom creator program. But, you know, Street Fighter was never about microtransactions. And thankfully, even though the microtransactions in that game are disgustingly expensive, thankfully there's not a lot, because most of the microtransactions are for your created character, and no one really cares about that. But Tekken 8 is adding an insane amount of microtransactions. And they're impactful to the game. Yes, they're cosmetic, but they're outfits that people have been wanting for years. So I have to criticize that. Even though I love these games, I have to criticize that. And what I have to do here is I have to, in this, you know, when Guilty Gear Strive came out, this wasn't a big deal. But nowadays, we really have to appreciate how Arc System Works always stuck to what they wanted to do, and they never really compromised their game for the sake of making more money. Not once. And it's probably because they're a small company, so they probably don't have a lot of people telling them what to do. But we gotta give Guilty Gear Strive / Arc System Works credit for that, because no other fighting game is doing this right now. Anyways, like, subscribe, and yeah. Peace.